Well, either you're closing your eyes to a situation you do not wish to acknowledge, or you are not aware of the caliber of disaster.
Hello.
The Emperor has been expecting you.
You're gonna get your mind right.
Warning. Common sense incoming.
Alive. It's alive!
Warning, this contains explicit material suitable for children.
Great heavens! What kind of radio show is this?
This is the Blab.
There it is, and okay, let me just, right off the bat, let me just do this and tell you. I had a little minor epiphany today, and that's with a capital E. I had a whole big chunkin' segment to start out tonight.
Chunkin'
segment to start out tonight. We're going to talk about, they'll talk about racism, and they'll talk about what we've been chatting in the pre-show stuff tonight. But something happened along the way, and I had all that prepared ahead of time. I went and ran an errand today, and while I was out, I was waiting in the car for a few minutes. And I saw a little news headline, and I had this moment of, there you go. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to insert this in the beginning of the show. We can talk about it 5-6 minutes, whatever it turns out to be, just for fun. But it falls into the category, because we're timely and topical around here, it falls into the category of what I like to call breaking news. Ethel will be with us shortly. She substituted the orchestra. She's out parking the car, I think, right now. All right.
She might be dead.
We were talking pre-show a little bit about the what they call the squad, these four ladies and this whole thing with the tweets and this stuff. And we'll get to that in a minute. But this is what caught my eye. It was a news headline. I think it was from Fox News, but it doesn't matter where it came from. The lady's name is Sherry Murray or Cherie Murray. I don't know how she pronounces it because it's Scherie. Why don't people spell their names the way they're supposed to? She's a New York businesswoman. She is an immigrant from Jamaica, or she immigrated from Jamaica as a child, and she's active in state Republican politics.
I saw this. Yes.
She has announced that she is going to run for the congressional seat held by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
My favorite.
There you go. AOC, as she's known to her buds. And I saw this, but here's what caught my eye. It was somebody had posted the link on Facebook to this, that she was going to run. This lady was going to run against Cortez. And this lady, the poster, the caption was 3 words. Yes! Exclamation point. Yes! Exclamation point. Yes! Exclamation point. And I'm like, now, admittedly, I was sitting in my car. The AC was on, but it's 147 degrees outside today, so I was probably a little bit on the cranky side, just a little bit. But it tweaked my annoyed nerve.
Imagine that.
It tweaked my annoyed nerve, and here's the reason why. Here's what dawned on me. It's like, you know what? I'm the first person. Here's what makes me unique among the other things that makes me unique. Here's what makes me unique as I think as a commentator and as an opinionator and an internet influencer, whatever the hell that is, and everything that I do. When I realize that I've been wrong about something, and ask my ex-wives, they'll tell you, I can say, you know what, you're right, I was wrong. Okay, I did that wrong. It doesn't happen all that often, but when it does, I say I was wrong. I've been wrong about something for a while, and this is going to sound a little bit like duh, but bear with me.
Okay.
I've been operating under a delusion for a while, and here's the delusion. I've been operating, and this is funny coming from me, because I know I come off a lot of times like a very cynical, pessimistic guy. In my own head, what I hear myself doing is I'm a very critical thinker. I'm a critical guy. I believe in goodness and kindness and happiness and glass half full stuff. I really do. I like puppies. I think that, Beaver Cleaver was a nice kid. It's all about that. But at the same time, and I said, I think on last week's show, I'm a cynic, but I define cynicism as a hopeless romantic who understands the way life works. But I have been operating under the delusion that a majority of people in this country really want to find a way to live and work together. I don't know what the numbers are now, but based on that woman's post, she didn't post that and say, oh, look, and here's an opportunity for an alternate point of view. Yes, 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 which I read as, fuck Cortez. And I'm like, you know what? This is what my epiphany.
Well, wait a minute. Maybe she's a fan of that lady.
This was my epiphany. This was my epiphany, and I believe this now.
Okay.
And that's why I've been deluding myself. I believe we've reached a tipping point. Whether we can get back in the other direction or ever do, I don't know. But right now, I believe that at a minimum, 51 out of 100 people don't give a shit about anything except what they want. They don't care about meeting in the middle. They don't care about finding compromise. They don't care. Give me what I want, when I want it, how I want it. And the danger in that is that when somebody like a Donald Trump, a demagogue, comes along who is willing to say to them, forget the truth, forget facts, forget anything except I'm going to tell you exactly what you want to hear, they can succeed at a level beyond comprehension. And then they can lie about anything they want, whenever they want, and people will accept it. It's an extraordinary act of selfishness on the part of people who say, you know, as opinionated and hard-headed as I am, scratch just, and you know this is true, and if it's not, say so right live here in front of all these people.
Okay.
You scratch under the surface, you're going to find a guy that says, all right, you're going to have to convince me, but if you do,
well, yeah,
I'm going to be on board.
I've convinced you occasionally.
Let's find a way to make it work. We're in the same boat. Let's do the metaphor. You know, we're in the same boat. I think we should row this way. You should think we row this way. Well, okay, we got to do something because we're rowing in circles. Let's figure out a way. My contention is that, and not just because of that woman, but basically suddenly the epiphany came to me. There's so many people who basically just say, fuck you, I don't care.
Well, this has to, again, context. I mean, is that lady from that area up there? I mean, is she a local lady down here?
She's a local lady here.
Okay, because I know in her area there are a lot of people that don't like her. You know, a lot of the things that happened, you know, with the Amazon thing, there was, you know, so if it was somebody up there, I could see somebody being very excited at a potential, you know, candidate against her.
Yeah, but the point was that it wasn't presented in the sense of, now here's a candidate to balance the scales, and I know that's a sophisticated thing to expect.
Maybe she didn't know how to spell scales.
Well, and yeah, believe it or not, for all my innate admitted cynicism, I really do in a kind of a perverse.
Are we talking about the Jamaican lady?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she represents, in other words, it's like it's not that she might bring some balance and reason to the circumstance. It's that she's going to kick that sorry Cortez's ass out of there so we can have it.
That's going to be hard to do.
We can have it our way. It's the underlying principle. Right. Okay, it's not about it's you and me. Okay, and I disagree with you. You disagree with me. Let's figure out the old words, all the old cliche shit. Bipartisanship, hands across the aisle, blah, blah, blah.
That doesn't exist. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist anymore because if you disagree with me, you're a racist. Well, or if you disagree with me, you're a misogynist.
Then boy, oh boy, aren't
you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. And boy, oh boy, aren't we in trouble?
We are in trouble.
That's major trouble.
We are in trouble, Scott.
With a capital T, and that rhymes with T, and that stands for you-know-who. Speaking of which, all right, so I just wanted to share that.
And I'm glad sharing is caring, Scott, and I really appreciate that.
Because this is where the narcissism, the selfishness, and suddenly so many things started to fall into place in my brain as I was processing that thought. I thought, you know what, again, all the people who are hardcore still supporters of Donald, because he represents that demagogue brain cell that basically says, you know, I'm going to lie to your face, but it doesn't matter because I'm telling you what you want to hear. I'm not going to tell you the truth because the truth would turn you off. I'm going to tell you, Mr. Coal Worker, that I'm going to get your coal job back for you. I'm lying through my teeth because coal is over and it's never going to fucking happen. But I'm going to tell you that, and you're not only going to be excited about it, you're going to get rambunctious about it, and you're not going to listen to anybody else or anything else. That's just, first of all, forget the morality.
Right.
It's extraordinarily cruel to the people who deserve and need to hear the truth. When I worked in Nashville for years, I had a couple of publishing companies that I was in charge of, and it was my job when people brought in music to evaluate the music and either accept the music or reject the music. And I tried to be tactful about it and gracious about it and not cruel and mean-spirited about it, but more than once I said to people...
This sucks.
No, I said in so many words to them, don't quit your day job.
Right.
You really don't have it. I could have very easily have said, wow, I'm hearing hits here. You know what? Give me your songs, and I'm going to publish them, make you a big star. Well, you know what? That's extraordinarily selfish, but even worse, how extraordinarily cruel is that?
That is very cruel.
And this is what we're talking about. All right. I made a promise last week that I was going to try like sugar. I was going to try to keep Donald curtained in a little 2 to 5 minute max thing, okay?
Yes.
I'm a man of my word. Let's give a shot and see what happens here.
I will build a great, great wall. I don't know what I said. I don't remember. I said drug dealers, I said killers, and I said rapists. Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing. This was locker room talk. We keep it in tippy-top shape. Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing. Ridiculous bullshit.
And the clock begins. Let's turn the microphone back on.
The bing, bing, bong, bong just kills me every
I
time.
love him more than life itself. All right. We've already talked about the tweets, racism, the squad, the women. You know me. I like to bring up for conversation purposes what I call the thing under the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Here's tonight's thing under the thing. In 2 to 5 minutes, I hope. They're going to go after, and what I'm reading from the little Scorpio, the Trump administration, but I even choke on using those terms. Those guys.
Those guys.
Those guys. Now they've decided to end the asylum protections for most migrants who arrive to claim asylum. The ongoing trick in this thing, as the ante has gone up, is that they're entitled to, by law, claim asylum, so they shouldn't be harassed and et cetera. They should be, no, so well, if you can't kill the snake.
Which is wrong.
Now, here's where you're going to go, coming from me. I agree. I absolutely agree. William Barr said, quote, "We're a generous country, but we're being completely overwhelmed by the number of asylum seekers." You know what? That is correct.
Yes.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my problem. The problem isn't the what. The problem is the why. This kind of thing should be part of a comprehensive program to constructively deal with the legitimate issue of too many people at the door. At one time, America was a 500-person capacity auditorium, and a couple of people would show up every week or so and say, hey, can we come in? And maybe even a few people snuck in the fire exit door.
Right.
Okay? We're doing metaphor theater now. Now, it's still a 500-seat auditorium, but there's 7,000 people in the auditorium, and there's 22,000 people wanting to get in. Only an idiot is going to say, and it's not about party affiliation or politics, it's about common sense.
Right.
But that is not what's going on here so much of the time in this. This is the issue, and with Donald especially. With him, it's one of those issues that he uses to, how many times have we heard this expression in the last 3 years? Excite the base. Because he functions and motivates and gets his support from scaring people. If you don't put me in the Oval Office, you're going to be overrun by brown-skinned people who are going to rape and pillage. And now, if you don't keep me in the Oval Office, you're going to get overcome by people who rape and pillage. And here's what we're going to do.
It depends on what the rape and pillagers look like.
It's the right. It's the problem exists. The problem needs to be solved, and the problem needs to be constructively dealt with. But that's not what's going on here. And that's not right. And here's the thing. He stood by his tweets, and he said, and anybody who's gotten the misquote, he said that these 4 women, the congresswomen, who, by the way, just to say the record, they're all 4 American citizens.
Yes.
3 of them were born in America. So
yeah, the other one was born in Somalia.
There you go.
Yeah.
He said they should go back to, quote, the broken and crime-infested countries they came from. He was asked this question at a press conference. Just listen to this.
Does it concern you that many people saw that tweet as racist and that white nationalist groups are finding common cause with you on that point?
It doesn't concern me because many people agree with me.
That statement right there, for me, sums up too much and so much of what this guy and the demagogue attitude is all about. It doesn't concern me because so many people agree with me. That's not his job.
No.
His job is to be president of the United States.
Of all people.
All of the people in the United States. When he says so many people agree with me, you know, you'd have to be a third grader and a remedial third grader not to know that what he's basically saying is my base, the people who love me, the people who adore me, the people I need to make happy. They like what I'm saying, and so it doesn't bother me.
Right.
I'm accomplishing my goal. My goal is to keep those people happy, as I've said 1,000 times. That makes him not president of the United States. That makes him president of the Donald Trump fan club. It's not what he was elected to do. I don't care who he is. If I liked him, I'd still say, that's wrong.
No, I agree 100%.
Oh, my God.
So, I mean, he needs, obviously you need to make your base happy or you're not going to be reelected. So he needs to make his base happy. But the concern for the people that do not support him have to be in there as well.
Well, you know what? I'll agree with this. He needs to make his base happy if his goal is to get reelected. But you know what? In the truer sense,
but
and I don't,
all politicians, you know that.
No, don't do that.
Make
See, I knew that's where you were going to go. And no, God damn it, no fucking no, no more, no more. They all do it, and they all did it. Somebody at some point has got to stop that. Somebody's got to step up and have profiles and courage.
I agree.
Somebody's got to say no. I may lose this election, but I'm going to do what's right for the people of the United States and for this nation as a whole, and not for these 20 fucking people who wear bumper stickers and come to my rallies and love me.
Well, you have to let me finish what I was saying.
Go ahead.
I said you have to make your base happy, but you have to have concern for even those that don't support you.
What happens when you're in a situation, and this is one of those situations, what happens in a situation where you really can't do that?
Then you have to do what's right.
For who?
For the country, if you're the president.
And there I rest my case. And the other part of that business of,
No, I think you took, when I said you have to make your base, I think you took, I was defending him. I wasn't defending him.
No.
I was just stating a fact.
No. I didn't whip out the Tampax until you said all politicians, and here we go.
They make their base happy. That's what they do.
And
that's why they're politicians. Right?
Not all.
Yes, all. Or they're not reelected, or they're not politicians.
That's two different things. Yes, they may not get reelected. That was my point.
Then they're not a politician because they're no longer in politics.
No, that's not true. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. That's hair splitting for the sake of hair splitting. I'm saying that there's no courage. It takes courage to be a leader.
Yes, it does.
It takes courage to be a leader because you've got to risk the fact that you may be wrong,
unpopular,
or eliminated.
Yeah.
But at least you had the courage. And I wasn't using profiles and courage as a hook. Read the goddamn book.
Yes.
That's what the whole book is about. It's 10 or 12 people in the course of our history who were in political office who took great chances to do the right thing for the greater good at the risk of, and in some cases, losing, their office. That is leadership.
Yes, it is.
That is supposed to be what America's about.
But it's not.
But it should be.
But it's not.
So it all boils down to racism, name calling back and forth like a bunch of fucking seventh graders. We'll be back in a minute. Well, you can call me Ray, you can call me Jay, but you doesn't have to call me Johnson. All right, we're on Facebook Live streaming as we speak. As always, the rebroadcast is available at our YouTube channel and on Facebook Live shortly after we've got a little system down. Now, usually within an hour or so after the program.
Scott's efficient. He's very efficient.
I'm efficient. Wouldn't you like to be efficient, too? All right. So, I forgot to put the Donald Trump alarm. I think we did okay. We got in and out.
Yeah, we were in and out quickly.
Minutes, how that goes. And so I thought, let's talk about something calming. And you had some winners we could talk about. Let's do this real quick. Hit it, Ethel. She did this just for you. She was in here rehearsing all afternoon. She wanted to do that for you because she heard that.
I love that.
She heard that.
Little heart.
Ethel, good job, sweetheart.
You're gonna love this one, Scott.
Okay.
This may be the craziest person of all time.
Crazy.
Okay. A man turned himself into a police precinct in Jerusalem, claiming to be a time traveler.
Okay.
And the murderer of Jesus. He was dressed in complete Roman guard gear, including a bloody sword. This would just tickle the shit out of me. But he only spoke Latin.
Well, that's in keeping in character.
Yeah, keeping in character.
Although technically he should have spoken in Aramaic, if you want to be technically.
That's true. He claims that his name is Caius Longinus Ananaximus.
Holy rubberist, Batman.
He said he didn't realize that Jesus was the Messiah. He just thought he was killing an enemy of Rome.
Oh.
So
that was Russell Crowe's excuse, I think, in the movie.
They took him into custody. And excuse my voice, I'm still sick from last week.
No, he's found out that chicks dig it. He's fine. It's a thing.
Well, they took him into custody and, assigned him to psychiatrists and everything. And they said his case is very, very rare.
No.
Because what he suffers from is grandiose delusion. But
you're tempting me with Donald again. Now be careful here.
Well, but wait a minute. Usually when a person is suffering from that, they make themselves a major player. They make themselves a Napoleon, or in this case, a Pontius Pilate, not some random guard. So they said it's a
so
very
he has
strange...
so it's a mixture of delusions of grandeur mixed with self-image issues.
But I mean, that's the craziest fucking thing I have ever heard.
Well, what I want to know is which cabinet position is he up for? He's got to be on the short list there somewhere.
Well, his name is Longinus.
His what?
His middle name is Longinus.
Longinus. Wasn't there as Longinus? No.
Oh, well, I tell you what.
There's a reality show.
I have a whole plethora of things. Plethora, that's a good word. Did you know that?
I know.
Did you know that in Tennessee?
Oh, please.
They are encouraging people not to flush meth down the toilets
because of the alligators.
The alligators.
Methigators. Yeah, the reality show is just Sharknado has kind of worn itself out, so now it's time for.
I think we got a new Sharknado because the meth gators.
I wish we had the echo.
Well, anyway.
Gator.
Well, anyway, the new they said it could go down to the Shoal Creek in Alabama. I guess that's a huge gator population. But I guess the South Alabama meth gators instead. I guess that would be the new mascot. No?
It sounds like a new college team to me. I think they could probably get a lot of sales. Wouldn't you like to? What would be the cheer?
Well, there's some experience with animals that are on meth. Do you remember the squirrel, the attack squirrel? His name was D's Nuts. Yes.
Yeah, he was a meme favorite for years.
That's what happens with. That's what happens when you meth up an animal.
I had such hopes for my life. I had such hopes for mankind when I was a young person, and as I've gotten older, I've realized it's never going to happen.
It's so great. It's so great. I got another one, and this is your 3-name rule again. Gerard Damien Sayens.
The hell you say?
Yeah, well, he's got three names. He's crazy. He was arrested after the ATF found over 1,000 firearms in his home in Bel Air.
Right to bear arms.
1,000 firearms, including it was something like 41 illegal automatic weapons. So, I guess he's the freshest prince in Bel Air.
And what is his name again?
Gerard Damien Sayens.
No Latin? He's not Jeromus,
no.
AK-47-us?
No Latin. And then here's my final crazy person.
Oh, okay.
A Florida man was arrested when he attacked a deputy who just simply asked him to exit a no-swimming zone at a Key Largo resort. The guy's name was Yancer Robania. Oh,
potato.
Yeah.
But he's one of them. Bet he's not American.
Anyway, you could probably bet that.
I bet he's naturalized, though.
Yeah, probably.
That'll be congressman within 2 weeks.
But they had to hit him with a stun gun because he headbutted the deputy and spit in the deputy's mouth.
Which brings us kind of full circle around. Last week we talked about the ice cream liquors. Did you hear the updated version of what's going on now?
No.
Now I saw that somebody was posting the video that went viral of some guy walking into a Rite Aid or whatever, walking over to the shelf, picking up a bottle of Listerine mouthwash, taking the lid off, pouring a mouthful, gargling it, and spitting it back in the bottle, putting the cap on the shelf, and walking away.
Nice.
But here's the thing.
They're shrink wrapped.
Thank you. They got that plastic.
They're shrink wrapped,
yeah,
so that's not.
That was a setup.
But no, this guy that spit in the spit in the deputy's
mouth.
I used to pay like $40 to have that done to me. No,
I'm appalled. And I'll tell you why. It cost me $75.
Oh,
and I don't understand why.
Damn it!
I overpaid. That's enough craziness. We'll be back.
leave me to leave.
Ethel was feeling nostalgic, and she wanted to time it because she knew that you were talking about world affairs. And I leave the stuff to her, and she said, "How about what a wonderful world?" And I said, "You know, Ethel, I'm not paying you, so do whatever the hell you want to do."
With this sinus thing, I could probably sing that.
You know, you may find after you actually get better from the 74 steroids that you're on that you're going to miss that voice. Remember the Friends episode where Phoebe got it, the whole thing, and she sang and got all throaty, and then it went away, and she was like lost.
Smelly cat, smelly cat.
What are they feeding you? Okay, because gosh darn it, it's been all of about 9 minutes since I wailed, and it's time for our little Stick of the Week award. It was my turn this week.
It was your turn this week.
I don't remember whether, for some reason I have, maybe it's because of the climate of the times, but I have deja vu that I've done this, I've wailed on this particular group once before. If not.
Which group is it?
I'm about to tell you. Okay. Fine. If not, fine and dandy. And if so, it don't matter because they're deserving of a second shot as far as I'm concerned. Now, Stick of the Week goes this week to the uninformed voter.
Oh, yeah, you've been there.
In a little different context, though, okay? And by uninformed, I think we're going to extrapolate, especially as we're going into the primary season now and the new primaries are coming along and the whole rest of that. It's the apathy. We talked last time we mentioned this, I think. We talked about the number of people that didn't show up in 2016.
Right. You mean the primary lottery?
Yeah. In the general in 2016, and there are statisticians who will say that was one of the 2 or 3 perfect storm reasons that Donald beat Hillary was because of so many people that didn't show up. But in the primary season, here's the thing. It's like and the reason I'm giving the stick award to people who don't do it, the apathy, it's an old cliche. Well, if you don't vote, you don't get to complain and all the rest of that. You know, but that's under ordinary America screwed up circumstances. That's when things are wacky in a normal way, not wacky in the turbo way they've been for the last few years.
Turbo wacky.
This is really important, but it's not just important to show up. There's an old cliche about doing your civic duty and being there on Election Day. I'll go you one better. If you show up on Election Day, just show up on Election Day, and all you really do is stand in line with your buds and make cheap shot jokes about Hillary or whomever, and then go behind the little curtain and punch the button for the person you're voting for because you like what they said about getting them brown people out of here, or just whatever the one little stupid thing that you latch onto is, you're not doing your civic duty.
That's true, but aren't most voters swayed by one key subject usually?
Yeah, and there's your problem.
Yeah.
This is my point. I've long ago, and you know, you may say I'm a dreamer.
You're not the only one.
I hope someday you'll join me. I say I harbor no illusions, but I clearly harbor delusions. We talked about this earlier. My wife says this to me all the time. Well, you know, honey, you're just a purist in a contaminated existence. And I'm like, and it's true.
That woman's a saint.
She is. And I want to say I don't expect people to wise the hell up. I would like to see some improvement. I hope for that. I don't really hope that people are going to start really digging in because, and I've said before, I think we're all kind of inherently lazy. And America in the year 2019, and I've said it, I watched one of our
turbo lazy.
I watched one of our rebroadcasts a couple of days ago, and I found myself being particularly strident when I said it, and I thought, well, it's pretty mean-spirited the way I'm coming off. So I said, next time I say this, I'm going to come at it from a different direction. So let me put it a different way than I did last time. Last time I said, this fucking country is fat, lazy, arrogant, selfish, and lazy. I said lazy
really
twice. So let me put it this way. This wonderful country has a number of people in it who are lazy and fat and selfish. And they're arrogant, narcissistic, and don't give a damn about anybody but themselves. Okay.
Denny Crane.
Denny Crane.
It would be behooving upon them. And let me tell you how I equate this. If you haven't, I heard myself say this many times. We collectively, any of us who go into the voting booth now in the year 2019 or any year to come, we don't have the luxury anymore of just showing up and saying, I like that guy's hair, or he's going to get me my coal job back, or latching onto one thing. Okay,
right.
It's a complicated world. It's a complex world. Sometimes we overcomplicate it, but it's a lot more complicated than it was 20, 40, 100 years ago. It's like
agreed.
It's like directions to something. You know, we used to just remember when you're even at your young age. There was a time when you remember just going to the phone.
Yes.
Picking up the phone, making a phone call. If the phone didn't work, you called the phone company, and the phone company guy came out and fixed your phone.
Dude, our phone was like on the wall next to the kitchen.
And there you go. Thank you.
Try asking a girl out.
That's right. Somebody said the other day, too, they missed that. And you know the really reason they said why?
The really reason?
The really reason? And I laughed. They said because when you're pissed off at somebody, taking your smartphone and going, oh, yeah? Just doesn't get it. If you don't know what we're talking about, missing the days when you could go, yeah, well, that was good.
That was very satisfying.
My point being, now you got to know how to program the thing, got to know all these it's more complicated. The voting process is the same. The actual voting process of punching the button or clipping the chat or whatever you do. But knowing what the hell you're doing in there. And if you haven't taken that into account, if you're not embracing that as a citizen, and this is just my editorial opinion, then if you haven't kept, I call this the societal equivalent of tech savvy, okay? You haven't kept up with the times.
Right.
If you do that, modern times call for modern perspectives. And if you haven't done it, if you don't do your due diligence, and then it's lazy, it's selfish, but at worst, it's kind of a neglect of the freedom that you're supposedly in there to make your choice, to help enhance and do it, et cetera, et cetera. You're not following the directions. You're putting the stereo together just by plugging the sumbitch in, turning it on, and hoping that it's going to play okay without making sure it's properly connected. And if it shorts out, well, then it's somebody else's fault.
And I would add to that, if you go to the voting booths, don't just strictly vote a party line.
Well, and there's that. That's part of being informed.
Yeah. I mean, look at what all the candidates stand for. You know, you might like some Republicans and some Democrats. Vote for those people. Don't just vote all Republican or all Democrat. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
I'll tell you what I'd like to personally see in my druthers if I were king.
If you were king?
If I were king.
Oh, I thought
what
you
I
were
would do.
being a deer. That looked like antlers.
That's antlers.
Oh, okay.
This is a crown. I think we should, and it's impractical, so it's just wishful thinking. At least for in my lifetime, I'm sure it may come to that someday. I'd like to do away with political parties as a complete whole period. I think people should just, it should go away because all it does is get in the way.
I agree.
Remember, we talked a few minutes ago before we went on the air. We talked about an entirely different subject. I said you mentioned Republicans, and we were talking about GOP and Democrats and all that. And I said the Republican Party is either dead or it's on permanent pause right now. There is no Republican Party. There's the Democratic Party, and there's what I call Trumpists. Okay, it's Trumpism. He is at the head of it, so he represents that. But it's a mindset. It's an attitude. The Republican parties of my lifetime, conservative, all those things that they are, but they would immediately have jumped up and said to the president of their own party, "You got to tone it down.
You got to chill. Yeah.
You got to," and with one or two little beep 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 voices, not a fucking word. That's not the Republican Party. Okay, that's Trumpists. So this is what we're dealing with. I'd like to eliminate the whole thing, the whole damn thing. Listen to a candidate, listen to what they offer on the issues, quiz them on the issues, be knowledgeable enough to be able to ask the questions that need the answers, and then make up your mind as to, everybody, it's almost like in an ideal world, and boy, oh boy, that's not going to happen. In an ideal world, I would say in order to get you got to have a voter ID, but in order to get your voter ID, you got to pass a test. But here's the test, okay? It's not a written test. You got to spend 1 week as a personnel manager, and you got to learn how to hire people. You got to learn how to interview people. You got to know what questions to ask. You got to know how to gauge when somebody knows what the hell they're doing. If you do that, then you can begin to get the questions and information you need about candidates. But you know what this requires? It requires effort, and it requires work. And it's easier to just binge watch Game of Thrones and then go punch the button in the voting booth because you like the guy's hair or he's lied to you and says he's going to get your cold job back for you.
People like the path of least resistance. They don't really want to put any effort in.
And you get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm.
You get what you vote for, too. Or worse than that, you don't get what you vote for because what you were told in exchange for your votes, there's Mike. What you were told in exchange for your votes was lies. The old campaign, I'm going to get you your job. We're going to do this. You're going to have the most terrific health care. You're going to have. And those things turn out not to be true. All right. Something non-political coming up. Got to be there.
Yeah.
Just a little voter apathy for you. There's an electrical crap going on outside our window there with winds blowing and stuff. So if you're watching the live stream or you're listening in some other fashion and we disappear, that's the reason why. Oh gosh, oh no. Okay.
Obladi.
I want to share a little anecdote with you. This has to do with it's actually kind of in the category of an obit because we had a little passing among other famous passings this past week. But it gives me an opportunity to invoke one of those fun things we do, which basically boils down to shameless self-promotion.
Nice. Go ahead, Ethel. I like that.
You know, Ethel. I said, Ethel, do you know? Because, that's kind of an obscure tune. I said, do you know Third Rate Romance? And she just looked at me with this expression like, get.
Of course I know Third Rate.
Young whippersnapper. Yeah. Russell Smith was the lead singer of a group called Amazing Rhythm Aces, and they had a big hit back in the 70s, Third Rate Romance, Low Rent Rendezvous. He passed away this week at the age of 70. He had...
natural causes or cancer?
Cancer, I understand. He'd been dealing with it for a while.
That's
and,
terrible.
I'm 2 years and a month or so away from 70, so when I see those numbers, I go, not crazy about this. But, life goes on, Oblidi. He was a very interesting guy, and he worked in and around Nashville quite a bit. He did session work and stuff like that. And the reason I bring him up is just, first of all, to note that it was really fun stuff. The song, of course, kind of iconic on the oldies stations, as it were. And he was a first-rate musician and a very interesting, eclectic guy and an interesting vocalist. He was one of those guys that when you hear Russell Smith sing, you know it's Russell Smith. Right. Even if you don't know that it's Russell Smith, he doesn't sound like anybody else. Nowadays, and it gets into that, in my day, singers, okay, let's be honest. All through generations, there have been groups and or artists who kind of sounded like each other sometimes.
Well, that's the record industry's fault.
But then there were always those who, when you heard Phil and Don Everly sing, you knew it was Phil and Don Everly. They didn't sound like anybody else. Right. Same thing with Russell. When you hear Russell's voice, there it was. And the reason I'm shamelessly self-promoting on this is because I had the occasion, the privilege actually, accidentally, a friend of mine, co-writer friend of mine in Nashville, we had written a little ditty. And it was a little bit R&B, but kind of country R&B and blah, blah. And we usually demoed the songs in full-blown demo form. And Roger, my co-writer friend, he said, who do you want to sing the demo on this? And I said, I don't know, Jimmy or Jerry or the guys we used to go to in the stable. And he said, who do a really good job on this? And I said, who? And he said, Russell Smith. And I said, you mean Russell Smith from Amazing Rhythm Aces, Third Rate Romance, Russell Smith? And he goes, yeah. And I said, oh, okay. Sure. How about, Michael Jackson? Maybe we can call him up, too. And Roger, you'd have to know Roger.
Could Elvis sing back
Roger just kind of looked at me with that loving, poignant friend look that you give me sometimes that basically says, what the fuck is the matter with you? I said, seriously? And he goes, Russell's a friend of mine, Roger says. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah. He said, let me give him a holler and see if he can do it. Well, Roger happened to be in town, so Roger came in and he sang the vocals. So the record was never cut by anybody, but it was a really cool demo.
Right.
But I had the privilege of I have a demo in my library of a song that I co-wrote that has the Amazing Rhythm Aces Third Rate Romance vocalist Russell Smith singing on it. And I punched up, I said, the song runs about 3 minutes. I'm not going to inflict 3 minutes of song here. But just to prove my point, this is a chunk of the song. It's called Cry So Hard, a little play on the term try so hard.
Nice.
There you go. This is Russell Smith of Amazing Rhythm Aces. And the machinery was acting up during the show check today, so I'm going to yank the volume down at the end instead of just stop, because if I don't, it'll replay and burp about 6 times, and I don't want to listen to your shit about it when it goes down.
I love when that happens.
I know you do, which is exactly why I'm prepared to put a stop to it. But I just wanted you to hear this. This is going in the song. It's what's known as the bridge, which is like something that happens. You sing a verse, maybe, and then a chorus, maybe another verse and a chorus. Then there's a little unique piece of the song called the bridge, and usually goes back into a chorus. So I thought the excerpt, this is the bridge going into the chorus of the song called Cry So Hard, and this is Russell Smith.
The tears, they flow like a river, but they don't wash the heartache away. Love can make you cry so hard. It reaches inside. For the tears that you hide, don't it break your heart? When it falls apart, love can make you
Russell Smith
Nice.
of the Amazing
Nice.
Rhythm Aces, and that's a memory.
Who played? Did you play piano on that?
No, not that one. I produced the session, but that was studio guys. That was the great thing about Nashville, and still is. A lot of the musicians who play on the demo sessions are the same guys who play on the master sessions for the albums for
Right.
stars like in
Mel
those
Tillis
days it
and
was
those
the big
guys,
ones.
yeah.
But I mean nowadays, Carrie Underwood, the big stars. It's the same musicians. And what it is if they have days off or they're not doing master sessions, they make demo scale. But a lot of the guys
Right,
enjoy
right.
playing.